Hello, everyone, and welcome to our January family chat. Today, we are going to be talking about homesickness from both a parent perspective and a student perspective. I have some great guests with me today that I will let them introduce themselves. But first, my name is Caroline Davis. I'm the graduate assistant for transition programs. I host the family chats and I publish our family newsletter every month as well. And I will let our guests introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Scott Jernigan. I am a junior here at UNCW. I'm studying biology with minors in chemistry, psychology, and neuroscience. I am also an RA in Graham Hewlett Hall, and I am a Seahawk Link, and I'm really excited to be talking to you guys today.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Van Dempsey. I have the honor of serving as the Dean of the Watson College of Education at UNC Wilmington. Our college has undergraduate, master's, and doctoral programming. We're about 50% of our students are undergraduate students. We're known primarily for educating teachers, but we educate people for business and corporate settings, early childhood, higher education, community colleges. We have a broad spectrum of programs that we offer. It's good to see everybody.
Yes, we're so excited to have y'all today. Before we get started, as you heard, Scott has his plate full with everything that he's involved in on campus. So he may have to scoot out a little bit early to get to class, but he's a student first, so we're going to let him go when he needs to. But we're excited to have him while we do. And as always, we have some planned questions, but feel free to comment your questions and then we'll have someone answer those, or we might answer them live. So, like I said, we're going to be talking about homesickness. So, from your experience, a lot of people experience homesickness when going to college, whether it's the student missing the family or the family missing the student. And of course, with COVID-19, that just escalates everything. So how have you seen COVID-19 influence homesickness?
Yeah, I've noticed that COVID-19 actually can make homesickness worse because for me it makes it harder to travel, obviously, and see family, especially a lot of the high risk family. And it just makes it really difficult to be able to see the people you care about, and unless it's like over something like Zoom or Skype or something like that, and it's just not the same as seeing someone in person. So I think that just makes it um, way harder to deal with, at least for me. So
Yeah, I totally agree with what Scott just said. One thing COVID has done is disrupted everybody's routines. And so you have routines and relationships that you have with your family and when you get to physically see them and interact with them. But you also have relationships with people that normally would be on campus, both fellow students and people on the faculty. And so all those things are disrupted. So you don't get to live in those relationships the same way. And that's going to lead to some homesickness.
For sure. So starting with the student missing their family, Scott, what's your experience as a student with homesickness?
yeah, I think my freshman year was really my most notable one. I remember when I first moved to college and into my dorm room. I guess saying bye to my family seemed kind of surreal, and like it didn't really set in until like a week or two later when I was like, oh yeah, like I live here now. This is where I live, and my parents miss me just as much as I miss them, and we would talk on the phone like every day or every other day, and eventually got like my semester got so busy that I started to notice it less and less. But initially, it was really difficult. I'd say for the first couple weeks to a month or so. And what I would say to that is, I think just like kind of stick it out, because it gets better, and you get to manage it more, and you'll get to see your family again. That was kind of my attitude about it. But it was kind of rough for the first couple weeks.
And did you find that coming back in the spring after winter break, did you find that you felt homesickness then as well or not as much?
I still felt homesick, but I kind of already had a semester of experience with it, so I kind of knew what to expect. But it still is difficult saying goodbye to my family even now. Like even now coming back from a break, it is really I do get a little homesick sometimes. So it's totally normal. Um, but I say just again stick with it. Um, Find stuff to stay busy because you have so many experiences at college. Like, um, I don't want to say distract yourself, but I guess for lack of a better way to say it, distract yourself and like really enjoy the time that you have here, because this 4 years is, you'll have access to so many different resources that you may never have access to again. So I think that was kind of the way I looked at it and the way I dealt with it.
And then what did your family do to help support you through the homesickness?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was that we called a lot. We called each other all the time. Um, I'd say like I said, like 4 times a week or so. And sometimes like they would come down and visit me, or I would visit them. I know my dad loved eating at the dining hall here. He thought the dining halls were so cool, and that I could just like swipe in as many times as I wanted, and I like swipe him in, and it was like all you can eat type thing. So he loved coming down here and like eating at the dining halls. So that helped. Um, I think that was the biggest thing that helped me deal with it, knowing that my parents were only a few hours away, and that we can visit each other all the time. So
And then thank you. And on the flip side of that, Dean Dempsey, when your children were off at college, what did you do when you started to miss them and started wishing that they were at home?
Yeah, I have 3 daughters, and all 3 went off to college and went to 3 very different places. And I miss them. I mean, parents miss their children, and parents want to ask questions and know how things are going and check in and be parents. Um, when I found myself missing them, you find ways to communicate that are not intrusive. People are trying to become at least semi-independent, if not independent, living in college. So you want to know what the routines are. What are your classes like? Talk to me about your professors and how that's going. I mean, there's sort of a set of questions you can ask that are normal for people who are students in college. And then when you get the signals that somebody doesn't want to talk that day, or well, not right now, or I'm off to do something else, then you gotta, as a parent, you've got to understand they're living in an independent space where they've got their routines and relationships, and being respectful of that.
And then what did you do whenever your daughters were homesick? How, from the parent, like that must be hard to watch your children miss you, but what did you do when that was the case?
Well, I could cheat a little bit because I work at universities, and so I sort of have some sense of direction, and how can we help? How can I help our daughters get connected? My wife also works in the university. Um, first of all, be a parent. Be somebody that they love. They have, they can be confident in the relationship. They know they can talk through things, and sometimes that's just being upset. Don't particularly need a solution to the homesickness. I just need to talk through it. I need to, let the emotions out. And so you're hearing that for your child, in our case, for our daughters. The second thing is to help reinforce the importance of the things they can do, and some of the things Scott talked about. Are you building friendships? Are you getting involved in relationships that are going to help you have a support system and a network of people that are helping you enjoy being a college student, so you're not spending your time thinking about what you're not doing or where you aren't located. You're living in the space where you are in a constructive way. I think the most important thing that a parent can do is check in and listen.
Awesome, thank you. We have a live question, and one mom is asking if either of y'all have any suggestions for care packages to help students, whether that be companies to order from or things to include. If you were going to send a care package or receive one, what would you want to be in it?
Me personally, food, snacks, candy, those are always like welcomed. You can never go wrong with a college student with food. Um, but I think besides that, I think stuff that they would like need for their dorm. I don't know, like shampoo or soap, hand sanitizer, whatever like that they need for their dorm. I think that always helped a lot. I know everyone's different, but for me, I always appreciated when like my mom was like thoughtful and got me like groceries or something that I needed for my dorm room. So
Yeah, all of those things. I remember when I was an undergraduate myself, And I advise students I talk to all the time. I never had things like an umbrella. The sort of practical things that you got to put your hand on when you need it. I never have an umbrella. Make sure you think about those practical things that your son or daughter might not have thought about, that they might not have, and that's something you can send to them. And on the food part, in the case of our kids and for me when I was a college student, sending you food that you couldn't find yourself. If you can turn it around fast enough in the shipping, can you get fresh things that are going to survive the shipping process? But things you couldn't just go out and buy, that would be and would be something special because it's from home.
Yeah, I always loved, my mom sent a few care packages when I was in undergrad, and I always loved the notes, just to see her handwriting and just a little note of encouragement from my mom. She's one of my best friends. So even something that seems so small, like a note, can actually make a really big difference. And one of my roommates last year, she was feeling homesick, and her mom actually sent her a Hello Fresh, like it was a couple meals in it, and she absolutely loved that. So I know that that's an option as well, to get some fresh food that they may not have had otherwise.
Something that, sorry, I didn't mean to
Oh
interrupt.
no, go for it.
My freshman year, one of my friends on my hall, like his mom sent him insomnia cookies, because you can like get insomnia cookies delivered to, like someone else could order it and deliver it to the dorm. And like he just got a call and said like, hey, go outside because there's insomnia cookies for you. And I know you can go and just buy that yourself, but I think like a little gesture like that would like be really helpful. I know if that happened to me, I would like lose it. It'd make my night, you know? So food is always a good way to go.
Yes, college kids are always ready to eat. I know personally, I know a lot of people agree on that. Scott, you talked about some things that your family did. Is there anything that you wish they would have done or would have done differently, or were you really happy with how they addressed your homesickness?
I was happy with how they addressed it, but I think I would have I think it would have been nice if they understood that like I was independent now. I don't think they really understood that because I'm their oldest child and I'm the first one to go to college. So I think like if they had understood that like I'm trying to kind of like live on my own, um, and like I have a lot of stuff now to do, like a lot of stuff on my plate. Um, I think that would have helped a lot if they had kind of understood that. But they were still really helpful in that aspect. I think if they had realized that, that would have helped a little bit.
Yeah, can I add one point to that, sort of in the opposite direction? I went to college and on to graduate school, and so when I talked to my three daughters about college, I had that experience. Okay, let's talk about college dynamics, and that presents opportunities. You're talking about similar experiences, but you're also assuming, my daughter going to college is like me going to college, and no, I don't want any part of how you went to college. On the reverse side of that, neither of my parents went to college. And so when I would call and talk to them, in looking back, what do I wish I had done as a student? I wish I had spent more time talking about what college was. What did it mean to go to college? What was the experience like? And I was a classical young person. I gave short answers. I mean, it was sort of the bulleted, quick answers versus helping my parents understand this is for something they had never experienced. This is what college is like.
Yeah,
The good side and the not so good side.
and I definitely think that even applies if for our students now, if your parents did go to college. My parents tell me all the time that the college that I experience is not the college they experience, because my parents were in college before computers. So they went and wrote their name down on a list to sign up for classes, which to me, that just sounds like, how could you do that? I just registered for all my classes online, typed in some numbers, clicked a button, I was done, when they would wait in long lines. So even I completely agree, just sharing your experiences, because whether, like I said, whether they went to college or not, they're going to be different. And there's a lot of room for conversation there. And also, I loved hearing about my parents' college experience because it was so different. So yeah, thank you for that point. That's awesome. And so thinking about what campus has to offer, do you know of any resources on campus? And at Scott, as an RA, have you seen anything work really well? What's your experience with that?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest resources, I'm going to plug myself a little bit. So I think one of the biggest resources is your student's RA, because their RA is really well trained in that kind of thing. Um, and your RA is just an emotional connection and like an emotional support um, to listen to like your voice or your concerns. And I think your RAO is going to be really helpful for that. So I would definitely recommend reaching out to your RA and building a connection with them because they're going to be really helpful.
And I'll do a
Get-
quick shameless plug for the Seahawk links as well. If your student's a first year student, they're going to have a Seahawk link in their Uni 101 class, and that's another really great resource. And so I highly recommend connecting with your Seahawk link as well. If that, whether they're homesick or not, I recommend connecting with your Seahawk link because that's a really great resource for our first year students.
Yeah, I add from the academic side, we reach out and have students reach out to us where if students got questions or needs assistance, we can route them to the appropriate student services office. But I think one of the most critical things you can do, I have a daughter who's in a master's program right now at UNCW. Establish a relationship with the instructor. And it doesn't have to be overbearing and sort of smothering, but make sure they know who you are, make sure they know your name. Maybe if it's a physical face-to-face class, go up and introduce yourself at the end of the first class. That relationship, along with the one Scott just talked about, you're in a class with a professor, make sure that person knows who you are.
Yeah, I have several stories from both undergraduate and graduate career of what a difference it makes to have that relationship with your instructors. It really does make a difference. So that's a great point as well.
Also, another resource I forgot to mention, the counseling center on campus. They're also a really helpful resource, not only for homesickness, but for mental health in general. They're licensed therapists there and they can be super helpful. Um, like what Dean Dempsey said, what Caroline said, um, all of those resources are super helpful. Make connections with your professors, with your RA, with your Seahawk link, and with the counseling center. There are plenty of resources here to help you out with that.
Yes, thank you both so much. Those are all the questions that I have planned, and we had a live question. If there's anything else, any other tips or tricks you want to share with families, feel free to do so. But those are all the questions that I had.
Yeah, I think my little tips and tricks for freshman year is like Dean Dempsey said, go out and make friends, make connections, because you never know who you're gonna meet. You never know who you're gonna end up being best friends with. Um, you never know like who on your hall um, you can end up being your best friend, or and make connections with your professors, um, with faculty, staff, your Seahawk link, your RA. Just go make connections because this is the like one time in your life where you're gonna have so many people um, around you, and this is like such a unique opportunity. So definitely take advantage of that and meet as many people as you can.
Yeah, I also, this is something that it's been a long time since I went to college, but I still remember the spot for the place where I was an undergraduate. Everything Scott just said about building relationships and routines is absolutely critical. Build the relationships, build the routine so you have a structure in your life. I encourage people to have if you're physically on campus, and right now, if you're at home because of COVID, have a spot where you go and it's just where you reset. It's you're struggling through homesickness or anything else for that matter, or you just need time where you're sitting with yourself, just sort of getting yourself refocused and thinking through some problems. I know on my alma mater where that spot is. And when I'm on campus now, I go sit in that spot for a few minutes. But yeah, sort of having those things that you do as like mindfulness kinds of activities. But when you're struggling or where you're dealing with some of the pressures of college, what's that reset place for you? And it's your place and you go there because you can get your mind focused on, what the life you want to be and not the one that you feel is being taken away from you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for that. And thank you both again so much for joining us today. Before we wrap up, just a couple of things. Transition Programs has a monthly newsletter. If you'd like to sign up for that, you can go to uncw.edu/transitions. and then you'll click on the Family Programs tab, and then on the Family Resources tab, and there's a place where you can sign up to receive that every month. We are on Facebook and Instagram at UNCW Transition, so you can give us a follow. And if you were late to the live stream or you missed it, all of our videos are on Facebook and YouTube, so you can see the whole thing or rewatch it if you missed something. And thank you again for sending us questions and joining us. And please reach out to our office if you have any other questions. And we'll be back in February talking about making mistakes and how to grow and overcome that when that happens. So, but thank you both again so much. And that's all that we have for today. So we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.